a princess rode toward a future that had been promised since childhood. Before the journey ended, her name would be stolen. Her crown would be taken. Her only friend would be killed. And the truth would survive only in the whispers of a dead horse. This is Simple Tales. Long ago, in a distant kingdom, there lived a young princess whose mother was a wise and loving queen. When the time came for the princess to marry a prince in a faraway land, the queen prepared her daughter for the long journey. The queen knew the roads between kingdoms could be dangerous. So before her daughter departed, she pricked her finger and let 3 drops of blood fall onto a small white handkerchief. She folded it carefully and placed it in the princess's hand. "Keep this close," she said. "It carries my love wherever you go." The princess tucked it safely into her dress. Then she mounted her beloved horse, Falada. Falada was no ordinary horse. He was strong, intelligent, and loyal. Since childhood, he had carried her through forests and meadows. More than a horse, he was a trusted companion. Accompanied by a single lady-in-waiting, the princess began her journey. For several days, all went well. But as the road stretched onward, the servant grew increasingly resentful. She watched the princess ride ahead. She saw the fine clothes, the royal jewels, the respect given to her. And envy slowly took root in her heart. One afternoon, they stopped beside a stream. The sun was hot. The princess grew thirsty. Turning to her companion, she said politely, "Please fetch me some water." The servant crossed her arms. "If you want water, fetch it yourself." Surprised by the rudeness, the princess said nothing. She dismounted and knelt beside the stream. As she bent to drink, the handkerchief slipped from her dress. The current caught it. Before she could reach it, the cloth floated away. The 3 drops of blood vanished downstream. The princess watched helplessly. And far away, though she could not know it, her mother's protection disappeared with them. The servant saw everything. Now she sensed her chance. Her voice became cold. "Trade clothes with me." The princess stared in disbelief. "You are my servant." "Not anymore," the woman replied. "Change clothes or die here beside the road." The princess was alone. No soldiers protected her. No witnesses stood nearby. Fear filled her heart. Reluctantly, she obeyed. The servant took the royal garments, the jewels, the fine horse, everything. Then she forced the princess to swear an oath never to reveal what had happened. At last, the servant mounted Falada and rode away as the false bride. The true princess followed behind in silence. By the time they reached the distant kingdom, nobody questioned the deception. The prince welcomed the servant, believing her to be his future wife. The real princess stood quietly among the attendants. No one recognized her. No one knew her name. Yet one creature knew the truth. Falada. The faithful horse had witnessed everything. The false bride knew it too, and she feared what might happen if Falada ever spoke. So she secretly ordered the horse killed. When the princess learned of it, grief struck her like a blade. Falada had been the last link to her old life, the last friend who remembered who she truly was. Unable to save him, she made one small request. She begged the executioner to hang Falada's head above the dark city gate through which she passed each morning. The man agreed. Soon afterward, the false bride convinced the court that the strange girl would be useful as a goose girl. And so the true princess spent her days herding geese beyond the city walls. Her companion was a young goose boy named Conrad. Each morning they led the flock through the gate. Each morning the princess looked up at Falada's head, and each morning she whispered, "Falada, Falada," hanging there so high. To which the horse replied, "Princess, if your mother knew, her heart would surely break in two." Conrad heard these words and shivered, yet he never understood them. Out in the fields, another strange thing happened. The princess possessed long golden hair that shone like sunlight. Whenever she loosened it to comb it, Conrad stared in amazement. One day, he reached out, hoping to pluck a single strand. Before he could touch it, the princess spoke softly to the wind. "Blow, gentle wind. Take Conrad's hat away. Make him chase it far today." At once, a powerful gust swept across the meadow. Conrad's hat flew through the air. The boy shouted and ran after it. By the time he returned, the princess had finished combing her hair. The same thing happened again the next day, and the day after that. Eventually, Conrad became frustrated. He went to the old king and told him everything. The talking horse, the golden hair, the mysterious wind. The king listened carefully. Something about the story troubled him. The next morning, he secretly followed them. Hidden near the gate, he heard the princess speak to Falada. He heard the horse answer. Later, he watched the wind obey her command. Now he knew there was more to this goose girl than anyone realized. That evening, he summoned her to the palace. Gently, he asked who she truly was. But the princess remembered her oath. "I cannot tell you," she said. The king studied her face. Then he pointed to an old iron stove standing in a quiet room. "If you cannot tell me," he said, "tell your sorrow to the stove." The princess believed herself alone. Slowly, she knelt beside the iron stove. And for the first time, she spoke the truth aloud. She told of her mother's farewell, the handkerchief with the 3 drops of blood, the stream, the stolen clothes, the false oath, the death of Falada, the long days among the geese. Tears filled her eyes as the entire story poured out. What she did not know was that the king stood outside listening. At last, everything became clear. The following day, the king arranged a great feast. Nobles gathered. Courtiers filled the hall. The prince sat beside the woman he still believed to be his bride. At the height of the banquet, the king began telling a story. It sounded strangely familiar. A princess, a servant, a stolen identity. The false bride listened carefully. Still, she suspected nothing. When the tale ended, the king asked, "What punishment should be given to a servant who stole her mistress's place and pretended to be a princess?" The woman laughed. "Such a traitor deserves the harshest punishment imaginable." She described a terrible sentence. Only after speaking did she realize the trap. The hall fell silent. The king rose. Then he revealed the truth. The Goose Girl was brought before the court. Her golden hair shone beneath the candles. Her bearing remained noble despite months of hardship. At last, everyone saw what had been hidden all along. The servant had worn the crown, but she had never possessed the heart of a princess. The true princess had lost everything, yet she had never stopped being who she was. Justice was carried out. The false bride was removed from power. The prince begged forgiveness for failing to see the truth sooner. And at last, the princess reclaimed the life that had been stolen from her. The kingdom rejoiced. Yet perhaps the greatest victory was not the return of her title. It was the return of her voice. The Goose Girl reminds us that identity is not something others give us. It cannot be stolen by lies. It cannot be hidden by simple clothes. And it cannot be erased by hardship. The princess lost her crown, her position, and nearly her future. But she never lost herself. In the end, that truth proves stronger than deception, and sooner or later, truth has a way of being heard. Thank you for joining this simple tale. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves myths, legends, and forgotten folk tales from around the world. Until the next one.